Today, we're diving into a massive leap forward for AI, something called Agentic RAG. And trust me, it's the difference between an AI that just follows a checklist and one that actually thinks on its feet. Let's get right into it. So you've probably been there, right? You ask a super powerful AI a complicated question, something you know it has the data for, and you get back, well, junk. It's frustrating. What's going wrong behind the scenes? Well, that's the exact problem a brand new type of AI architecture is finally solving.
Now, to really appreciate just how much of a game changer this new approach is, we first have to understand what's holding back the current systems. And it all comes down to something we can call the RAG bottleneck.
Okay, so most of the AI tools you're using today run on a system called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. The idea is pretty simple. The AI doesn't just rely on its training data, it also fetches relevant info from an external knowledge base, like all of your company's internal documents, to give you a better answer.
But here's the catch. Traditional RAG is a very rigid four-step process. You index the data, retrieve what you think is relevant, augment the prompt, and generate an answer. See the problem? It's a one-way street with no U-turns, and that's exactly where it all starts to fall apart.
The biggest flaw is what we call single-step failure. Just think about it for a second. If that very first search, step 2, pulls up the wrong documents or just irrelevant junk, the whole system is toast. There's no way for the AI to say, "Oops, that didn't work, let me try again." Whatever garbage it found gets sent down the line and you get a garbage answer.
And then you've got this other mess, contextual corruption. Imagine just dumping all of your company's data, HR policies, engineering specs, marketing plans, into one giant digital bucket. If you ask about a project delivery policy, the AI might pull conflicting info from both HR and engineering and get totally confused. It has no idea which context is the right one.
So here's the bottom line. This rigid, one-and-done system just completely breaks down when you ask it something complex. Like asking it to compare a sales strategy from last year to this year's plan. It just can't do it. It has no ability to perform multi-step reasoning.
So what's the fix? Well, it's pretty profound. You give the system a brain. And this is where we meet our hero, the Retrieval Agent.
This is Agentic RAG. Instead of that stiff linear pipeline, Agentic RAG uses an autonomous agent to run the show. This agent can plan, it can reason, it can adapt. It turns a dumb process into a dynamic, intelligent, problem-solving system.
Let me give you an analogy. Traditional RAG? It's like a brand new assistant who can only do one basic keyword search in one place. But Agentic RAG? That's like a seasoned, expert researcher. It looks at your request, figures out the best libraries to check, pulls out multiple tools, and synthesizes a complete, accurate answer. It's a whole different league. And this agent doesn't just have one tool. It has a whole toolkit. It can decide, this question needs the HR database. Then pivot to the engineering docs. If it needs to calculate something, it can grab a calculator. It can even go out and do a live search on the web if that's what's needed to get the job done right.
So, how does this agent actually think? It all comes down to a really simple but incredibly powerful cycle. Let's break it down. It uses a framework called REACT, which is short for reasoning and acting. It's a loop. First, the agent thinks about the problem and plans its next move. Then, it takes an action by using one of its tools. Finally, it observes the result of that action. And this isn't a one-time thing. It's a continuous loop, allowing it to learn and correct course as it goes.
Let's walk through a quick example. So the agent gets your question. Its first thought might be something like, okay, the user's question is about HR policies. I know for a fact those are in collection A, so my first step has to be querying vector search A.
So based on that thought, it takes an action. It actually executes the command to search the specific database tied to those HR documents. Notice, it doesn't waste any time or resources looking in the engineering docs or anywhere else. It's targeted.
And finally, it makes an observation. It sees that it got back 5 relevant pieces of data. Now, this is the crucial part. This result feeds right back into its next thought cycle. It can now decide, is this enough information, or do I need to dig deeper?
That iterative, self-correcting loop, that is the absolute secret sauce of Agentic RAG. It's why this approach is poised to change everything. Let's really look at the advantages here.
Look at the difference when you put them side by side. Traditional RAG is linear, static, and stuck with a single knowledge base. Agentic RAG is dynamic, iterative, and thrives on complex tasks using multiple sources. But the most important line on this chart, that last one, adaptability.
Agentic RAG can self-correct. That's not an improvement, that's a revolution.
And all of this adds up to a huge improvement in accuracy. You can see how it breaks down. Being able to access different knowledge sources is the biggest piece of the pie, but self-correction, refining the query, and multi-step thinking are right behind. It's this whole cocktail of new skills that makes the final answers so much more trustworthy.
And this isn't just some academic exercise. It has massive real-world applications. Think about it. In medicine, it can synthesize mountains of research papers with a patient's specific data. In finance, it can actively monitor for compliance issues. It can even autonomously diagnose and resolve IT problems. It's not just an assistant anymore. It's a digital worker.
Okay, but as you can probably guess, all of this incredible new power doesn't come for free. Building and running these advanced systems introduces a whole new set of challenges.
It really comes down to a fundamental trade-off. Traditional RAG is fast, cheap, and relatively simple. Agentic RAG, because it's literally stopping to think, is slower. It has higher latency. Every one of those thought cycles costs more computing power, which means it costs more money. And when something breaks, trying to debug a complex, looping thought process is way, way harder than a simple straight line.
So let's be clear about the hurdles. You've got that extra computational overhead, which means higher bills. You've got a much more complex system that's just harder to build and maintain. And you've got a scary risk called error propagation, where one tiny mistake in an early thought can snowball into a catastrophic failure down the line. This is a serious engineering lift.
Which leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? We've evolved from a simple tool that finds things to a complex, autonomous worker that solves things. This is a fundamental shift. So the question for any business is no longer, can our AI find the right information? The real question now is an autonomous AI that can truly think on its own worth the immense investment in complexity and cost? That's the billion-dollar question.